All right, welcome everyone to the first episode of Around the Book, where we look at the slate of NFL and college games and give you our best bets of the week along with a few underdogs. My name is Casey, and for this week's episode, we'll be going over our futures for the year and our picks for week one of college football. While we wait for the regular season to kick off, I'm going to pass it over to my co-host JT, and we're going to get this episode started.
What's up? I'm JT. I am co-host of the Creamsicle Chronicle podcast here on the Around the Block Network, and also a writer over at BucksReport.com. You can find some of my betting content there once Florida legalizes gambling. I'll drop it down to Dalton.
All right. Hi, I'm Dalton Blackman. I do some gambling and fantasy content here at ATB. And then you can also catch some more Raider-specific content over at the Raider Ramble. And then Jake.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Brockhoff. I write about pretty much everything here at ATB. This is my first podcasting experience here. Like Dalton, I've also written for the Raider Ramble in the past, so you can find some of my stuff over there too.
All right. Well, glad we're all acquainted now. We're going to get into this week's episode. We're going to do futures, like I was saying, and then we're also going to give a few picks for week one of college football. And I'm going to start off with my first future. I have the San Francisco 49ers at plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. Now, they're hovering around 800 to plus 1,000 for probably since the season ended till about now. And then when Trey Lance got traded off, there was a big spike. So I think there was great value at the Niners winning at plus 1,400. Plus, with a weak NFC, I think it could be a little bit easier for them to get into the Super Bowl. And once you're there, you never know what can happen. My next future is Josh Allen for MVP at plus 1,000. I think that's also another great value pick. I don't think that there's much more that Josh Allen can do to prove how good he is, how good of a quarterback he is in this league. So to see him really take it to the next level, make a deep push into the playoffs, and if he can get out of the AFC, win the Super Bowl, I wouldn't see why not. We wouldn't see him winning that MVP. And those are my futures for the NFL so far. Of course, throughout the season, I'll be adding some more and possibly seeing what we can do in mid-season. But those are mine, and I'll pass over to JT to go over his futures.
So first of all, I'll say I really like your 49ers bet, just considering, one, how weak the NFC West is. It feels like they're destined for a first-round bye. And two, how weak the NFC overall is. I mean, it feels like it's got to be either San Fran or Philly. And then teams like Dallas, Detroit, Seattle, they're kind of like a long shot. You know, I could see a pathway, but I feel like if I had to pick one team, it'd definitely be the Niners in the NFC. Okay, so my futures bet. I like long odds. That's something you'll find out about me. I like underdogs. I like, getting the maximum value for my bets. So I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 750 to win the NFC South. It's a division that I think is pretty wide open. I think the Bucs have the best roster. The biggest question is quarterback. And I think with the new system that Dave Canales is bringing in, this Sean McVay offense that kind of revitalized Geno Smith last year, if he can just be functional, I think they've got a top 5 defense, and I think they're a pretty solid roster overall. I mean, I question the depth, but I think in terms of pure talent, they're the team to beat in the NFC South. So getting the best odds for the best team, I think that's a really, really fun bet. I like it. So that's one of my futures bets. And my other one, I'm going to stick in the NFC South, plus 4,000. Bijan Robinson, Offensive Player of the Year, with that Arthur Smith running scheme. He built the scheme that Derrick Henry played in, and Bijan is just so talented. And that offensive line is just so talented. And Atlanta's quarterback is just so bad. So they're going to run it early and often. So long odds. Those are my kind of odds. Bijan plus 4,000.
Love that Robinson pick for Offensive Player of the Year. If it's not a quarterback, it's going to be him. And honestly, so far it looks like the only quarterback that's got a shot at it is Stroud, maybe Bryce Young, but I don't know. I really like that Robinson pick. I might have to jump on that. But my futures are I got Eagles plus 650 to win the Super Bowl. Like you mentioned, Casey, that weak NFC in general just makes you feel good about a little bit better about picking teams in the NFC to win the Super Bowl, just because if you like one of those teams, you know they got a fairly easy route to get there, and then it's just winning one game. So at 650 odds, I really like it. My other one, bit of a homer pick, but I am taking the Raiders over 6.5 wins. I think that's really low. They won 6 games last year. I think year 2 in McDaniels, the offense is going to function a little bit better, even without Derek Carr. I think even though Jimmy Garoppolo, a little less talented, the offense will still function better, just because he's a better fit for what McDaniels wants to do. And even if/when he gets hurt, Aiden O'Connell's looked solid enough. I don't think the drop off from Garoppolo to O'Connell is going to be too much. I think he'll still be able to manage the offense. And the biggest thing is Josh Jacobs being back. I think 6 wins would be the absolute floor. I think they're going to be somewhere between 8 to 10 wins, though. So I really like that. I feel like that's pretty much a lock at 6.5 wins.
All right. And then to piggyback off of that, it's also a little bit of a homer pick for me, but I also took the Raiders over 6.5 wins at plus 110. I think something that's important to note is that the Raiders won 6 games last year, but 4 of their losses, they had a 10-point or more lead in. So if they can play that same kind of success rate and just have a couple of those games go their way and not choke so many games away, I don't really see how they win less than 6 games. I think the defense got better. I really like the Tyree Wilson pick. I think he's going to be really nice alongside Max Crosby. And if they can get a solid second season out of Chandler Jones, it'll help a lot as well. So I really do like the Raiders over 6.5 wins. And then my other future pick for the NFL is the Bears under 7.5 wins, which is also plus 110. I really like Justin Fields, and I like a lot of the things that the Bears did this offseason, but I don't think they have enough talent on the secondary or the defensive line or enough depth to really make enough of an impact to get over 7.5 wins. I just don't see them winning more than that this year. So those are my 2 NFL futures.
I gotta say, Devontae Adams has to be at least 3 wins all by himself. I mean, I'm not a big believer in Oakland, or Las Vegas now, but Devontae Adams might be the best receiver in football. If it's not Justin Jefferson, it's got to be Devontae Adams in my book. So I'm a little lukewarm on that bet, but Devontae Adams alone makes it tempting.
Yeah, and I think that if the Raiders can't perform, I don't know how happy that's going to make Devontae Adams. I think this is kind of like a 6 over 6.5. I think is a pretty good bet, and I think I'm going to try on that one. I really like that Bears under 7.5 as well, just because Justin Fields is a monster, but that line they're going to need some help, and I just think that it's going to be a little bit of the same issues they were facing last year. I know that they were able to pick up a few key pieces at receiver, but without a line, you can't really do much. All right. So next, we're going to get into our NCAA futures. Then after that, we'll get into a little bit of the week 1 college slate. But to kick off for my NCAA futures, my first one I have is Florida State to make the playoffs at plus 320. I really like this bet just because with their quarterback, Jordan Travis, he's ready to compete. Everywhere you read, the media is loving this guy. I think if he can get out on the field, show the talent he's got, go and beat LSU, I think that, especially after last year's close win against LSU, I think if they can do that again this year, that's going to give them the momentum to make a run and really do this thing. But I think this LSU game is going to be a key one for them, whether it be a loss or a win. I think they'll gain something positive out of it. And then my next one is Caleb Williams for Heisman at plus 550. I mean, he won last year. Great athlete. Pac-12's down. I think it's going to be easier for him to go out there and put up video game numbers again this year, and especially if he can not mess up that Pac-12 championship game and everything like he did last year. I think that it's going to be his again. I know you guys have some differences on the Heisman this year, but that's my favorite pick at plus 550. JC,
yeah, I think the Heisman race is going to be a really interesting one. You can make a case for a couple of different guys, and I can't really argue with any of those top guys because I think they all have a really seeable pathway. But I'm going to go to the Big Ten, and I've got Penn State 550 to win the Big Ten, and we got Ohio State at plus 150 and Michigan at plus 175. I think all of those teams are fairly even. Penn State's defense is going to be their second year with Manny Diaz calling the defense. Second or third year? Second year? Either way, he's got them covered.
Second year, yeah.
Yeah. So I really like Penn State's defense. I'm really interested in this big-time quarterback they've got coming in. And really, if Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State can all kind of do a three-way split, 11-1, I'll take those little bit longer odds on Penn State to kind of squeak out of that group, as opposed to the safer odds with a team like Michigan. And then I'll give a Heisman pick myself. I like Michael Penix, quarterback out of Washington, plus 1,600. I think he'll be in the ceremony. I don't know if he'll win it, but one, Pac-12 after dark is going to go out with a bang. And two, who plays defense in the Pac-12? I think there's only a handful of teams, Oregon State, sometimes Oregon. I think Penix and Caleb Williams are going to put up big numbers. I think it's going to come down a little bit to who wins the Pac-12, and I kind of tend to lean towards Washington in that conversation. So I'll take those longer odds on a guy like Penix as opposed to Caleb Williams.
I like the Penn State pick a lot. Very tempted by them because, like you mentioned, that defense with Manny Diaz, they figured something out towards the end of last year. But my national championship pick, actually, I am taking those safer odds with Michigan at plus 750 to win it all. Just because I like Michigan to, even if they don't necessarily come out of the Big Ten, I like Michigan to go 11-1. I think you're going to see a scenario where Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, I could see them all beating each other, going 11-1. And I think Michigan will get in, even if they don't get to go to the Big Ten title game. I think the Big Ten will send two teams. And I really like Michigan this year, just because out of all the big contenders in both the Big Ten and the SEC, Michigan's the only team bringing back their quarterback, aside from LSU with Jaden Daniels. I said with Jaden Daniels. But LSU still got a long way to go. I think Penn State's a year away. I like Michigan to win it all this year. If they're ever going to win it, it's going to be this year. Then my Heisman pick, I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. at plus 2,000. I know the Heisman's a quarterback award, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is just different. He just doesn't belong in college. He has no business in college football. There's nobody that can cover him. I think he's going to put up video game numbers, especially with Kyle McCord at quarterback this year. McCord going to be his first year starting at Ohio State. First-year quarterbacks usually like to find somebody to be their safety blanket. And not only is Marvin Harrison Jr. very talented, he was also McCord's wide receiver in high school at St. Joe's Prep. I think that's going to really, really help and just boost Harrison Jr.'s numbers. I could see him putting up some scary numbers this year. I think he's going to take it. I like the odds at plus 2,000. Then you, Jake.
All right. So for my first college football future, I feel like this is pretty much a lock, but it's Colorado over 3.5 wins at plus 115 odds. They were really bad last year. They went 1-11, but Coach Prime is here now. I want to say they had 60 players or something like that leave in the transfer portal, which is just an insane number. But looking at their schedule, I see 4 locks just looking at it. They played Nebraska, Colorado State, Washington State, and Arizona. I don't see them losing any of those 4 games. Even if they do, they only need to pick up 1 more throughout the rest of the season to beat that. So I feel like that's kind of free money. For my second one, I have Penn State to make the college football playoff at plus 320 odds. Penn State, their defense is their strength. I think they have one of the best defenses in the country. They're returning a lot of starters on offense, and as long as they can kind of run the table in the Big Ten, I think they only really need to beat one of Ohio State or Michigan, and I think they can sneak in as at least a 4th seed in the college football playoff. So yeah, those are my 2 futures for college.
And I really like the Marvin Harrison at plus 2,000. I was checking while you're talking. He's still at plus 2,000 on DraftKings. So if anyone wants to, definitely I would trail that because there's a good chance he could win it. And Jake, that over 3.5 for Colorado is just, yeah, it's there. And I definitely want to take that one with you. So I guess we'll transition into our week 1. And I'm going to actually start with what my underdog bet is going to be. Speaking of Colorado, they are going to be playing TCU this weekend. It's definitely going to be a tough game for Colorado just because they're basically starting from scratch. I mean, they had a whole turnover on the staff, whole turnover on the players, just a lot going on in that program. I know Deion was able to do his thing at Jackson State and get everything taken care of, but this is Power 5 football now, so who knows what's going to happen. But along with them having that turnover, I think TCU losing a couple key players in Duggan and Johnson. I mean, I don't know. We don't know how good they're going to be. So I have Colorado money line at plus 750. This is either going to be the play of the year or it's going to come back and haunt me. But I'm going to stick with my guns. I like the vibes on this pick, and I'm just going to go with it. And then I would say my lock of the week, and I know this is really going to hurt some people in my home state, but I have Ball State plus 26.5 over UK this weekend. It's at negative 110. And I just think with UK losing Levis and Devin Leary coming in from North Carolina State, I just think that who knows what the quarterback situation is going to be. There's going to be some growing pains. I know Stoops has turned that program around at UK, but Ball State plus 26.5. If they can stay in it in the middle of the third quarter, who knows what's going to happen. So I think that's going to be my lock is plus 26.5 Ball State over UK.
Awesome. Just a quick update for anyone like me who is anti-fun and bet the under in the Florida-Utah game. We are 17-3 at halftime, so we are well on track for the under.
It's 44.5.
I don't know the way Florida's playing. The way Florida always plays offense. I feel all right. Utah just has to coast from here on out.
Yeah.
2-touchdown lead. We got this. All right. So I'll go first with my underdog pick of the week. And I'm going with Utah State plus 23.5 versus number 25 Iowa. And my reasoning before that is, number one, Iowa has to show they can score 24 points. And I know that's the big emphasis this year. Their offensive coordinator has a deal in his contract. If they don't average 24 points a game, he's fired. So I know 24 is like the goal. But even if they score 31, all it takes is, one fumble return for a touchdown, one special teams play. Utah State really just has to score one touchdown, and I feel really confident about this 23.5-point cushion. So I'm betting against Iowa's offense, 23.5-point Utah State. And then my lock for the week, I am going number 10, Washington, 14.5-point favorites over Boise State. And I never like betting against Boise State because they're that scrappy little mid-major team and they always overachieve and exceed expectations. But I'm all in on Washington this year. I think they are a dark horse playoff team. I'm really high on their coach DeBoer. I'm really high on Penix. I think they're going to come out and make a statement in this game and smack Boise State. So give me a comfortable multi-touchdown Washington win over Boise State this week.
All right, so really like that Utah State pick. Really like it. I mean, the nepotism is bad at Iowa when they have to put in a contract for Kirk Ferentz's kid to get fired if they don't average 24. Like, and it's not even a lot. Like, 24 points in college football is pretty reasonable.
For his own son to keep his job, that's cutthroat.
Well, I mean, he should have. The only reason he's still back is because he's his kid. The fact that they had to put anything in the contract just shows how bad the nepotism is. That's the only reason he's around.
What's worse, that clause in the contract or the Kyler Murray, we need you to watch some film on these teams contract?
I don't know. The Iowa situation's bad, especially after like the summer where you heard about Iowa players getting busted for betting on the under.
Yeah.
Like their kicker, it was either their kicker or their backup kicker got in trouble for betting the under. Like, and he was betting thousands of dollars on the under through his parents. It was wild.
He made more money on those bets than he will of any NFL prospects.
Well, yeah. Oh, this is very smart to do. But yeah, I mean, well, other than the fact that he did it very obviously, it was smart. But anyways, so my underdog for this week, I like North Texas money line at plus 210. North Texas taking on. I'm sorry, I just lost it. Everything went away. Oh God,
You're good. I'm trying to look. They're playing Cal this week.
They're playing where?
California.
Yeah, it's Cal. That's right. I knew it was Pac-12 team. I'm sorry. Yeah, Cal. And as we all know, Cal's just not great. It's just really, really going downhill. I mean, a lot of those Pac-12 teams that like were usually like, especially like the California teams like Stanford and UCLA, they've all been down, but Cal's been like a special kind of down. North Texas is like a solid group of 5 program. Opening week to start the season. Like the fact that it's plus 210 just shows you it probably a toss-up, and Cal's getting a little bit of boost value just on being a name brand. And then my lock for this week, I'm actually sticking with one of those California teams as a lock, though. Stanford -3 against Hawaii. That line, I feel like Stanford's only getting 3 points because people saw Hawaii last week and they're like, oh yeah, Hawaii looked really good against Vandy. It's still Vandy. I think Stanford, they're not a powerhouse anymore. They're barely even an average program, but like they still have far more talent on their roster than Hawaii. They're going to cover 3 points. That's my lock at -110. Jake.
All right. Well, we're going to have a little bit of competition coming into this week then, because my long shot is the Hawaii money line over Stanford at +130.
Love it.
And this is purely a vibes pick. I watched most of Hawaii's first game against Vanderbilt, and yes, it is Vanderbilt. So would not take too much stock in that. But they moved the ball through the air really well. They played great run defense. The Cardinal, we're going to have Troy Taylor's first game in charge. They have a retooled defense, especially in the secondary. I think Hawaii is able to take advantage of that, and I think this could be a game where we see Stanford. Stanford's not really in a position to be overlooking teams, but I think this could be one of those situations. So that is my long shot. This is the Hawaii money line. And then my other pick that I really like is Fresno State +4 against Purdue. This is an interesting one. Fresno State, they did lose their QB last year, as we all know, but Mikey Keene from UCF is in as a new transfer. They have a great offense around the quarterback and great coaching. I think their offense is going to play really well. Purdue lost their head coach last year. There's been some changes on both sides of the ball with new players coming in and out. And I think this also could be a situation where we see a Purdue team, a Power 5 team, looking down on a mid-major like Fresno State. But I think Fresno State, if there's any team that can pull off an upset in week 1, I think Fresno State is good to cover the +4 against Purdue this week.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, can I just say I love this Jake versus Dalton matchup?
Yeah.
Like, we are 1 week in and we're instantly hedging our bets as a staff. Like Hawaii wins. Hey, we told you Hawaii wins. Stanford covers. Hey, we told you Stanford to cover.
Yeah.
The only way we lose if it's like a 1-point Hawaii loss. Then everybody loses.
Yep.
I know.
So
I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We shared a future, so like,
Yeah.
now we gotta like show we're not a hive mind.
I think I'm going to have to go with that Hawaii money line, though.
For the vibe.
I mean, it's at +130 right now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see that line move even more and it get even less. I might have to jump on this as soon as I can. I really like that Hawaii money line pick.
You love those underdogs, Casey.
I do, man. I don't know. 3 points is nothing.
I just love it. Like we all picked some slight underdogs, but you went with a dog.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think I don't know.
I love it.
I believe in
I love
Dion. I think he can do it. I think he can get that Colorado team. I don't
that
know.
would be a Dion statement win too.
Yeah.
To beat a playoff team, first game in Power 5.
And I can already see the post-game press conference. He'd be like, Prime does it. I know. I had no doubt. This is me. So, like, I would not be surprised.
Definitely talking in the third person.
Yeah.
Biggest thing, yes.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come out in like a fur coat and the biggest cigar you've ever seen, it's a missed opportunity.
And then on his scooter, does he still have to use that scooter to get around? I remember he had that, like, issue with his foot.
Probably, he almost got it amputated, didn't he?
Yeah, he almost died, I think, from it.
Yeah, I'd imagine he's still on it.
So, I don't know. Maybe he can ride out on the Buffalo, begin the game, and get on the sideline. But, yeah, I was looking at – I don't really – I mean, I think there's a good slate this week. I don't have anything else that's really standing out to me on bets. I don't know if you guys had any more that you want to talk about this week. I know since we don't have any NFL picks, if you had any additional college picks you want to give out.
Can I ask you guys a question that we didn't prep for? So it's a little bit of a curveball kind of right off the bat in week 1.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any parlays going yet? Like in this week 1 college football slate, like that you're feeling either good about or you're nervous about? Like, do you have any parlays active yet?
I don't have anything active yet just because I think this week is a minefield with SEC and Big Ten schools playing these smaller schools that I don't know. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to get a tap on a parlay, but
it's super hard because we have no real data to go off of.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks from now, we're like, okay, this team stinks, this team's low-key good, they're going to cover. But right now, it's just like, I've never heard of half these players, but I think they'll be good.
Yeah. I don't have one yet, but tomorrow afternoon I'll have something will be out on ATB Network. I'll have a piece out with a couple college bets to pick, and I always anything I put out on ATB, like my picks for the week, I always parlay all this.
all right.
That's
Cool,
my double. That's how I double down on my picks. So those will be coming soon.
Yeah, I don't have any yet for this week, but I'm thinking about putting that Colorado and Hawaii together and just rolling with the underdog parlay.
I like it.
Could you
Give
imagine
you-
that?
Can I give you guys my parlay and you tell me if you think it's got a shot to make it?
I don't even tell you if it's got a shot. I'll follow you on it. Just let me know what it is.
So I got 4 in this first parlay. I've got the under 44.5 in this Florida-Utah game that's going right now. Utah on the Florida 5-yard line, ruining my life. I've got Central Michigan plus 14.5 at Michigan State. Mel
that
Tucker's
pick.
a fraudulent coach, and Jim McElway isn't a fraudulent coach, so that's pretty much my logic there. Fire up chips forever. I've got the over in the Michigan-East Carolina game, 51.5. I think Michigan could score 40 by halftime and just kind of coast from there. I mean, Carolina doesn't play any defense. None of the Carolinas.
And also, like, ECU will get 14 points against Michigan's third team in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah, ECU is fun. I love those purple Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun.
And then my last one is the Utah State game versus Iowa for the reasons I touched on earlier. Do I have a shot at making this?
Yes,
I think so.
absolutely.
Yeah, as long as
What
this
are-
Florida game doesn't start going crazy.
I
What
know.
are the odds on that?
Touchdown. On which one? Oh,
Like
the whole
on
thing
the parlay.
Plus 1,177.
Not bad. Not bad.
So you bet $10, you win 120.
I like it.
It's not bad. And that's another thing for this show. None of us here are betting thousands of dollars. So this is going to be vibes and just average guys shooting the crap and making bets. And, nothing crazy here. So we definitely want to just set expectations there. And, Jake, I know you were talking about taking that Colorado and Hawaii game. If you were to parlay that right now, you're at plus 1,970. So a $10 bet, pay out at 207. So
run with it.
Run with it if you're feeling lucky.
I'm definitely throwing money down on that now.
Yeah. So definitely something to look forward to. And next week, before we close out, does anyone else have any other bets that they wanted to discuss?
I have like a dozen future NFL bets going right now. It's a problem.
Well, if you want to give us a couple of your dying to give, we'll definitely.
Well, they're all like the parlay ones, like
Gotcha.
because those same kind of bets. I live for those long shot parlay bets. Like I picked every division winner. I put it in one parlay.
Yeah.
I picked like MVP, Coach of the Year, Super Bowl champion. I put it in one parlay. Like I put $5 down and I win like 80 grand kind of parlay bets.
Yeah.
Like I love the long shots so much.
I like your Robinson future though.
Yeah.
I really like that pick. He actually, I'm literally doing finishing up a fantasy draft right now in a keeper league, and Robinson actually just went number 1 overall.
I thought I had the number 1 pick in our league, and I thought about him. I felt pressured to take Jay Jett in with the number 1 pick, but I tell you, if I had that number 2 pick and that pressure wasn't there, it would have been Bijan.
Yeah.
I think, like you guys are saying with Desmond Ridder, you just don't know what's going to happen with him this year.
Oh,
So,
we know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. I think he is. I think he is going to function in Arthur Smith's offense like Tannehill did. I think he's very similar to Tannehill. I really like his decision making. I think he fits for that offense. I mean, don't get me wrong. Robinson's going to be the focal point of the offense, but I like Ridder managing it.
Yeah.
I think Tannehill is kind of the best case scenario for Ridder, which I don't think says a ton about Ridder, but I mean, Tannehill led the Titans to the best record in the AFC, 2 years ago? Not that long. So
Yeah.
If Desmond Ridder can be Tannehill in that kind of situation, you'll take it. Unfortunately, the Falcons still have maybe the worst front seven in the NFL, so I don't see them being successful even if he does hit that ceiling this year. But if that offense can be successful, that's going to be fun for everyone.
Yeah, I don't see him making the playoffs this year.
Well, that's because the Bucs are winning that division. We've already talked about it.
Yep. He bet on it, so it's going to happen.
I feel dumb. I bet on it like 3 months ago when the odds were plus 500, and the odds have only gotten better. And I didn't get the moving odds like a dummy.
Do you like Baker being there, or did you want Trask?
No, Baker's way better. Trask stinks.
Yeah.
He's played better than I expected him to this preseason and in this camp. But really, up until like the last month, Trask has been nothing more than a crash test dummy in my mind. He's just there. He's got a great future in real estate.
Do they have literally anybody else?
John Wolford is on the practice squad, and he was the Rams playoff QB 3 years ago when they replaced Goff. And I think if they didn't win that playoff game, I think they were competitive in it. And he's familiar with the Sean McVay offense. So if Trask comes in and stinks it up, if Baker gets hurt, then I think Wolford is serviceable.
They're crazy if they don't pick somebody up. Like there's a lot of guys out there, like Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
Like
I was so shocked he got cut.
I know. I feel like he would immediately start for Tampa Bay right now.
Well, it's like,
Baker's looked okay.
Baker.
I mean, I'm no Baker fan, but I think in this situation with Evans and Godwin and a lot of play action and rollouts, utilizing the things he actually does well.
Yeah.
I
love Mike Evans in fantasy this year.
I think if you like Mike Evans, I think you can get him to, I think it's over under on receiving yards is like 850.
Ooh.
So if you like Mike Evans, I mean, he's never had less than 1,000 yards in the NFL.
I like him in fantasy for touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I like him over Godwin. He's gonna get a couple Baker chuck and pray touchdowns.
Oh yes, I as someone who lived through the Jameis Winston era, I love those chuck and pray touchdowns.
I feel like the Baker era is gonna be very similar to the Jameis era.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baker's more supported because the offense is more, I don't want to call it dink and dunk, but it's more like, roll out, hit it for 5 yards, hit it for 6 yards, pop one for 20 yards. It's a safer offense where the Bruce Arians offense was all chuck it downfield, and that's how you get a 30 for 30 season.
Yeah. Well, I guess if we don't have any more picks to go over, we'll just preview a little bit of next week. We're going to shoot to do this next Wednesday around the same time. And next week, we are actually going to feature some of our week 1 NFL picks. We'll do week 2 of college and go from there. We'll probably take JT's suggestion back and actually do a parlay for everyone to join in if they want to. So, and if you guys have any picks that you want to tweet at us or comment, let us know. If you want to see us do anything or didn't like something about the show, let us know. We're new, we're growing, we're trying to get this thing off the ground. So we appreciate anyone who watches. And like I said, comment your picks. Let us know what you like. Let us know if you don't like our picks. You're not going to hurt our feelings. And thank you, everyone, for joining week 1 of Around the Book. And we will see you guys next Wednesday at 9:30.